Hello, everybody. My name is meteorologist Hutch Johnson. Weather is going to grip the nation over the next 2 days. We'll have, two rounds of winter storm type activity and an outbreak of severe weather possible as we go through your Wednesday. We'll time it all out to show you the areas of impact, what types of weather we're concerned about in your neck of the woods as deep, cold Arctic air grips the northern half of the United States. Let's get started right now with a look at what's behind me, and that is a look at an hour-by-hour, high-resolution modeled forecast. We'll let it loop through, but as we go through the day on your Wednesday, the main risk that we're going to watch first and tear apart is the risk for severe weather in the deep south. You also notice a batch of snow making its way from the high plains right through the Great Lakes in the northeastern United States, with the exit of a current system ongoing on this Tuesday evening. And then another Pacific storm system hits the west coast of the United States, bringing yet another chance of some snow to the mountains of California and the Central Rockies. Let's zoom in real close here to the Gulf Coast states and show you a couple of things that we're going to watch as we go through the afternoon hours, prime time for afternoon heating. Cold air clashing with warm air and humid air will leave us with the risk of all modes of severe weather in the deep south. Let's time it out for you so you can get a feel for what fires up and when. Moving out of San Antonio, Waco, Texas, as we go through the late night hours tonight, very heavy and flooding rains. Moving into Shreveport, this is a warm front setting up right here with a cold front on the backside out towards Austin and San Antonio. As we head into the overnight hours, heavy rain, flooding will be the main concern as we go through a couple of these storms, though, along the cold front could be severe. Now, I want you to notice this as we go into the morning hours. The position of this storm system will be moving into western Louisiana, Alexandria, Jackson, and heading in that general direction of New Orleans. Do you see all these isolated storms forming in the southerly flow out ahead of the storm? And the warm front out here is where we'll initially see that risk for some potent weather as we go into the afternoon. Birmingham, Alabama, and here we go, heading into Jackson, Mississippi. Do you see this backward C shape to the storm systems moving out of Jackson? This particular forecast model says that the storms moving out of Louisiana and into Mississippi could be quite windy. That backward C shape is called a bow echo. And when we see that on high resolution models, we tune and watch as meteorologists for that risk for gusty straight line wind damage. Now, that means that the risk for tornadic activity as we go into the afternoon will lift with the warm front through Birmingham and Atlanta, heading into primetime heating territory. So what we're watching for, isolated storms out ahead of the main cold front out here, lifting upwards into portions of northern halves of the states of Alabama, Georgia, and Mississippi. Will see a clearing with this wind shifting and becoming northwesterly on the backside of the storm system. Heading into the midday hour, showers, gusty straight line winds pushing into western Alabama. And here we go with the storm threat with the potential for tornadoes north of Montgomery, lifting in towards Atlanta and Birmingham, with the main cold frontal line working its way through. Notice it's more linear, not quite as backward C-shaped. We'll still have isolated cells producing some very strong and gusty winds with the storm system, and another round of strong to severe storms with still some areas with that south flow right here, kind of a return event, if you will, with the cold front moving through, then a return of some south winds off the Gulf, relacing the atmosphere with some moisture for the afternoon hours. Now, as we continue this model through, we see that we'll have progressive storms continuing in the deep south and Gulf Coast states from New Orleans through Montgomery, Alabama, all evening long. So there will be a risk of some early storms with the main wave that moves through and lifts out, and then into the evening hours, that threat continues. For this particular event, we're going to sneak over and take a look at some specialized analysis tools to look at where we may have that risk and the greatest risk for tornadoes with the storm system. And to do that, I'm going to utilize some tools from the Storm Prediction Center. Now, as meteorologists, we like to look at different properties of the atmosphere through its depth to try to analyze where the risk of gusty straight line winds or tornadoes, where the ingredients are all coming together, and we can do that right here. So we'll go ahead and take a quick peek at this, and what we're going to specifically look for in this first round is where we may have the tornado parameter that is setting up with that significant risk for the possibility for tornadoes. Where and when will that be? Now, again, this is all based on what we call UTC time, and that is basically the time zone in Greenwich, Europe. Now, as we go into the morning hours, we'll see some tornado threat lifting off the Gulf where you see the black lines. It's more significant with values over 1 and 2 making its way through as we go through 2100 hours on your Wednesday. That is your dinner time hours on Wednesday, prime time. That continues to lift through that area as we go through the forecast period, and boom, it increases in risk as we go into the late night hours, 9-10 o'clock. And look at the location from Birmingham straight into parts of central Mississippi as well. That threat will continue as we go through to go off to the east, but in the deep hours of the overnight, the risk for spin will decrease. Now, remember that backward sea threat I was talking a little bit about? What about that risk for what we might call straight line winds? And to take a look at that, let me pull up another tool that we look at, and that will be the risk for what we might call a derecho parameter. A derecho is a long-lived storm system that has long, widespread areas of gusty straight line winds from thunderstorms. So we'll look for highlight areas of this and notice similar areas, but this will be more along that cold front. So the timing will be a little bit different as we go through your Wednesday night tonight, moving into parts of Louisiana, including all the way from, say, Alexandria right into New Orleans as we go through the late night hours. That maximizes or optimizes as wave 1 makes its way through. Heading through Thursday, then, we'll see that the best chance for that dissipates. So the main risk for the gusty straight line winds will be tonight late and into the early morning hours of your Thursday. So that's a quick look at a couple of the parameters, and certainly hail, flooding, rain will all be concerns from the line of severe storms working its way through the deep south. Now let's talk about snow. Big time storm system that will work its way through the central plains. It's the same storm here as we head into Wednesday. And then we'll take a look at the West Coast's risk of more snow as we head into Thursday. So here we go. We'll back up the clock just a little bit, show you from the mountains of Colorado now, where there is deep cold air working its way out. We get this moisture from this central plain system. Sometimes thunderstorms that form down here can cut off the supply of moisture a bit to the storm system in the central plains. But we will still see a band of locally heavy snow working its way through parts of Kansas, moving into Missouri, Kansas City. Areas Omaha and Point South have the greatest risk at seeing significant snow. And as you get into Kansas, Topeka, Point South, we expect some ridiculous winds with this. Now, in this transition zone between snow here and rain here, we'll have a narrow band of icing potential through Oklahoma and central Missouri as we go into the morning hours on your Wednesday. Keep that in mind. And again, with the ice and wind, it's happening right at drive time through Kansas City all the way to St. Louis, where things will just be getting rocking. Now, you get some light snow in Chicago. The main brunt of this storm heading towards you, but it won't be until the afternoon and evening hours. This could impact air travel. Kansas City, St. Louis, Chicago, as we head into the afternoon hours. Look at the wet weather heading into the Carolinas from our storms and severe weather in the deep south that we just spoke of. So from Wednesday night and into Thursday, Chicago, the Great Lakes, and look at New York, and also the Northeast United States getting into the game with regards to snow. Rain and thunderstorms continue and set up shop again as we head into the overnight hours into Friday morning. And then we'll turn our attention right now to the ridiculousness out to the West Coast. And we'll look at snowfall amounts for both of these systems momentarily. But for now, let's zip down over into the southwestern United States. This impactful system here rolls off of the Pacific Ocean, and it starts as rain where we need it very badly. Los Angeles and the Southern Basin. As we head into the day on Wednesday, working deeper into the evening hours, we're going to see this storm system work its way in. So Wednesday night late and into Thursday morning, onslaught of very heavy rain will work its way in. Flash flooding will be a problem. Sacramento, San Jose, you all have seen a lot of rain, even as far south as near Bakersfield in the last few days. And we're going to see this set up as that air that is very moist starts working up the elevated terrain. We get that fantastic uplift there, and we will have some Santa Ana snow taking place outside of Fresno, right into Reno, and that area. Well, the Truckee Pass, all of these areas having a chance at some snow. This spreads into the central Rockies, Utah, Idaho, all the way out into parts of Wyoming as well as we go into the late week. So now, that's a look at the storm systems. We've talked about severe weather in the deep south. mainly a Wednesday event. We've talked about a winter weather event that lasts Wednesday and into Thursday, even tonight as we go through. Speaking of tonight, the Northeast United States, seeing some unsettled weather tonight. Here it is, making its way through Roanoke, Virginia, Baltimore, and the nation's capital. This system will continue to bring its rain and snow chances as we go through the late night hours tonight. Look what's lifting up from the north, though. What was snow could then again come back as some rain as this next wave pushes its way in. So we'll melt that snow fairly quickly in places like Baltimore and DC with very heavy rain. That's fast melting snow, that's flooding, and the elevated terrain out, you get out into Appalachia, we'll have a chance of that as well. Then moving into Wednesday, as we go through the night and into the day, we'll have ice potential, Detroit, on down toward Toledo and into parts of central Indiana, north of Indianapolis, the way it looks at this particular time, as the heavy bands of snow push through Chicago and head into central parts of Michigan. Anywhere to the west of Detroit, a risk for some significant snowfall potential from this system as we go from late tonight all the way into Wednesday night and then Thursday. So remember, the snow in Chicago and out towards Detroit does not get started, as I back the truck up here just a little bit, in earnest until we get into Wednesday, midday and afternoon and evening, particularly for the heavier snow. That means your impacts will be for the Wednesday late night drive and your Thursday morning commute on your way to the office as you close out the work week. That's a look at those areas. Now let's take a look at a model to get an idea of the snowfall potential from this at the USA view. And we'll go ahead and walk through this briefly and quickly, and we'll talk first about that risk for some snow. To do that, let's go ahead and highlight what we have going on with regards to this particular model. Let me make sure I got one that's going to get us farther out in time here. Here we go. Winter weather. Let's start with that risk for some snowfall as we go through. This is going to be total snowfall for the whole 48-hour period as we go from now and go right into your Thursday morning. Here we go. As we go through south of this ice, and there is the system working its way through the nation's capital now through morning. Snowfall amounts could equal an additional 4 to 6 inches of snow there. Meanwhile, in the Central Plains, by the time we get to noon on Wednesday, we've already got a problem in northern parts of Kansas, southern parts of the state of Nebraska, with 4 to 8 inches of snow, with gusty winds setting up shop with that next wave moving through. That's the same wave causing severe weather in the deep south, by the way. Now, we get through, that system lifts right into Chicago. So the onset of accumulating snow right here in Chicago begins at about the 9 to 10 o'clock hour on your Wednesday night. Wednesday night, 9 to 10 o'clock, boom, continues to snow and blow in Chicago, central Michigan. What kind of snowfall amounts are we talking about there? 2 to 4 inches in central Michigan does not seem like a bad deal, but this snow will last a little bit longer into Thursday for you. Iowa, Des Moines, and points west, 4 to 6 inches of snow possible in spots, but not for everybody. And then look at this, the big winners right here along, let's say, along and south of I-80 and north of I-70 through Kansas and into southern parts of Nebraska. Look at Omaha and look at Des Moines. In the pink areas there, significant travel impacts there. What about the mile-high city of Denver, Colorado? A pocket there, 4 to 6 inches of snow in the elevated terrain, though, just outside in eastern parts of Colorado. We could see some areas that get some ridiculous snow. And the ski slopes out there on the western slopes of the Rocky Mountains, picking up some significant snowfall potential in those local areas as well. And then, as that system works in Wednesday to Thursday in the West Coast, we're talking about mountain snows here that could be over 1 foot of snow for many, close to 2 foot for some in the mountains of the eastern reaches of California and Northern California, getting into the mix with a couple spots, this model says, up upwards of 3 feet of snow. Cold air diving into the nation's northern plains, having air temperatures between 30 and 40 below zero tonight once again, where southwest North Dakota, right here by my fingertip, saw an actual air temperature of 39 degrees below zero just west of Bowman, North Dakota. Whew, that's mighty frigid. I'm Hutch Johnson, a meteorologist of 30 years on-air experience here in the Northern Plains. Been broadcasting for, like I said, 30 years, and now I'm streaming for you. Also, want to let you know I've spent 20 years teaching, or approximately 20 years teaching in the college classroom, the subject of meteorology, working in research as well for a while with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. I hope you have a wonderful day. If you liked what you saw here, check out some of my other videos right here. And also, go ahead and hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Love to have you. Hope you have a great day. get that shovel waxed and be ready for some snow in various areas of the country, and pay attention to rapidly changing weather in the Gulf Coast states over the next 24 hours.